befinden sich im Zuhörermodus.
Hello everybody. As you can see in this slide, my name is Alberto Martínez Ballesteros and I work as a software architect here at Mimacom. I'm working from Asturias in Spain, in the very north of Spain, and today we are going to talk about Liferay and Elasticsearch. Last year in 2014, Mimacom won the Liferay Innovation Award for this integration between these technologies, Liferay and Elasticsearch. And today we would like to show you what we did and what is this integration about. We did a similar webinar some months ago, maybe in November or December, I don't remember. And today we are going to talk about this topic again, but with some new things, because this integration is live yet, and we are improving it day by day. So you can read here in this slide all my contact information, my Twitter account and the Mimacom's one, and my email, because if you need something, you have some question, we can talk here in this webinar, or you can contact me afterwards with this contact information. If this is your first time with GoToWebinar, you can see that this is a simple, a very easy tool. If you have some question, all of you are in silent mode right now, so you cannot speak directly with me, but you have some panels in order to communicate with me or with the other participants. You have the chat panel. If you have some question, you can use this panel in order to write the question, and I will read it and I will answer it now or at the end of the webinar. And you have another specific panel for questions, so you can use both of them if you need to ask something. And now we are gonna start with this webinar about Liferay and Elasticsearch. The first question about why we did this integration is related with this other question: why do I need to improve my search engine? Basically, some months ago, some years ago, when we thought about a search engine, about how to implement my searcher in my website, we only thought about doing it with a database. But this is not a very good idea, because a database, if we only use queries to our database, we are very limited with this solution. And as much as the contents of our website are growing when our site is on live, we have lots of contents in our website, and users are not very happy searching these contents, because usually they have problems to find what they are searching. We have here a minion, and this is more or less the face of our users if they cannot find what they want. So this kind of solution, this works based on how to improve our search engine, are basically focused on getting a better user experience when they are searching for some information. Obviously, it's not we don't need always the same solution in all our websites, but most of them, the best solutions are very similar, one to each other. So my first suggestion here is using the proper tools and a proper architecture in order to achieve our goal. What is a proper tool here is maybe it's easy to see. A proper tool is a tool what is developed specifically for searching. I mean, if I'm developing a search box and people need to use it to search some contents in my website, the best tool is that tool that it's specific developed for this goal. And all of this is very important because a proper tool is something very important to achieve our goals. In here I don't know lots of things about dogs and about dog races, but I think that there are a lot of dogs that are better than that one in order to win a race. So I only need to see his eyes, and I think that this dog is not a winner. So we can have the same problems if we don't choose the proper tools when we need to improve our user experience, or in order to improve the search in our portal. The first thing that we need to think about is how does the real world works, because this is not only about searches, this is not only about user experience, it's about the real world, it's about how we communicate with other people in the real world. And this example here, these two tables about locations and about countries is more or less the way in which we usually think when we start to define the architecture of a website, of a web application, or wherever. We have here maybe a couple of locations and the countries in which location are related to, but this information is easy to understand for maybe for us, for technical people, but not for the entire, for the whole world. But we are also the same people that understand things like this. If milk is empty and the fridge has no milk, buy 2 new bottles of milk, but in a strange language that not all the people can understand. This is only the language of a little group of people. So we need to think not about this way of architect of structure our information, but we need to think about how the real world works. I mean, we don't use that kind of relations with IDs. We don't think about IDs about these primary keys or whatever. We think about the fact about the world. If we have run out of the milk, please, I need to buy more milk, but I'm not thinking about any kind of a strange relation. The same with the countries or with the location. And if I need to search, I need to locate some of this information, my head is going to think in this way also. It's not thinking about relation. I'm not thinking about the exact word I need to write, to type in the search box to know what I need. I think more or less in the same way that my mother thinks. So, what is a proper tool here? A proper tool here is maybe is not the correct question, because we have a lot of tools that are basically developed for search. But we are thinking now just in one tool, that is Elasticsearch, and Elasticsearch is based on Lucene. Both of them, as one each based in the other one, work with a reverse index. A reverse index is a technology that allows you to decrease the space that you need to store your documents, and in addition, it provides a very fast way to locate the results. So how does a reverse index work? More or less, if we have some documents that this title of films, of movies that we have on the left side, Dumb and Dumber, Home Alone, Dear Dumb Diary, and Home and Away, the search engine, in this case Elasticsearch and Lucy, are going to assign one ID to our document. In this example, Dumb and Dumber has the ID doc1, Home Alone the doc2, and etc. And each time it receives a new document, a new title of a movie, it will be to analyze this title and build an index with all the information that it has. For example, if our search engine reads Dumb and Dumber, it will be to analyze this sentence, this title, and it's going to store the terms that appears in this title. In this case, we can find that it detects dumb, and it assigns the term dumb with the documents 1 and 3, the Dumb and Dumber and Dear Dumb Diary. The same with all the other documents, Home Alone. Once it's analyzed by our search engine, it is split in two terms: Home, which is assigned to the documents 2 and 4, and in this case I forget about Alone, sorry, but Alone will be assigned to the document dot, and the same for all the documents, for all the titles of the movies. You can notice some specific things here. Basically, it's not storing the more generic words like and, for example, because it's what we call a stopper. It's some word that is not going to be stored because people usually doesn't search only for and or only for the or some things like that. And other thing that this search engine do for us is split the words in the path of the word and the rest of the word. I mean, for example, Dumb and Dumber here is stored only as dumb because it knows that the path of the term is the same one, and one people can search for dumb, dumber, and the results are always the same. So this is an example of a proper tool, a reverse index. It's not the only one, because we have lots of tools that did the same, but we need a tool that is specific, do what we need. What is the main advantage of this solution is that it is a very fast tool, because you only need to index your document the first time this document is analyzed, and when a user search for something, all the documents are not parsed again. It only needs to go to the index, like index of any book, look for the term home, and it retrieves directly the documents 2 and 4 without parsing these documents again. So what happens when we have the proper tools? We need to know how to use these tools. In this case, we are going to talk about Elasticsearch and about how to set up Elasticsearch with Liferay, specifically Elasticsearch. Obviously can work with lots of technologies, and Liferay can work also with lots of search engines, but here we are going to talk about how to integrate Elasticsearch and Liferay. Our first step is knowing what is Elasticsearch, or what Elasticsearch provides to us. In this case, I went to the Wikipedia, and I take the definition of Elasticsearch from there, so you can check it if you want. But the most important thing here is that Elasticsearch is a search server that provides a distributed text search engine. All the things that we have here in Elasticsearch are published with a RESTful API, which is very important for the developers. And internally inside Elasticsearch, we will find our documents in a JSON format. Maybe this is not the most important thing here, but it's worth to know. So how we did this integration? Liferay luckily has a good API in order to improve its search engines. The one which Liferay provides by default is Lucene. You can find in Liferay Marketplace one implementation of this search engine API with Apache Solr. And now we have this new one with Elasticsearch. I think that there is also some commercial implementation for this Liferay search engine, maybe with autonomy and Google search appliance. I don't remember, but the question here is that we have lots of implementation of this search engine, and now we will find a new one with Elasticsearch. What we did with this integration basically is to implement all the interfaces that Liferay provides in order to get a new search engine. And then once these both technology were integrated, we work on improve the Liferay search engine, the user, in order to get a better user experience. Now this integration works properly with Liferay 6.1 and 6.2, and with Elasticsearch 1.2 and the next versions. Now we are with Elasticsearch 1.4, if I remember fine, and with Liferay 6.2, that is the last version of Liferay. But we can use also the previous version with the same implementation, with this integration. And this integration supports everything that Elasticsearch supports out of the box. Things like synonyms, that we will talk about this afterwards, facets, geolocations, all the connections, all the type of connection that Elasticsearch supports, such as no unicast discovery for another node, so multicast and all these things. So this is a complete integration. It's not only a parser integration of some functionalities. It's not something limited. It has all the powerful of Elasticsearch inside a Liferay portal. I will stop a moment here in order to explain in few words how Elasticsearch works, because it's a little bit complex if you are not if you don't use to work with these kind of technologies, but it's very easy to understand, to know how it works. Basically, what we have here with Elasticsearch is always a cluster. Maybe we can find a cluster of just one node, but it's a very strange cluster, or with several nodes. But basically, we will have always a cluster. If we have a lot of nodes of Elasticsearch, we don't have to be worried about how to replicate anything, how to configure because Elasticsearch is going to do all this work for us. Within the cluster, we will find our nodes. As I said before, we can find only one node, or we can find 3, 4, 5, or how. No matter how nodes, we can find all the nodes we want here. Within these nodes is where Elasticsearch stores the indexes. These indexes are not the same indexes that Lucene uses. We will talk about this after this. We will talk about this thing, about what is the relation between Elasticsearch and Lucene. But the concept of index that Elasticsearch uses is not the same concept that Lucene uses. In this case, for Elasticsearch, an index is a group of documents that are related with maybe with a topic, maybe with an application. For example, if we are working with Liferay of our portal and Alfresco of our document library, we can find here two indexes, one for Liferay, one for Alfresco, because they are different application that works with its own data, and everything is split in different indexes. Or we can find only one index for everything. In our integration with Elasticsearch and Liferay, we have here two different options. The first one is work with just one index for all the portals that we have in Liferay Portal. I mean, if you used to work with Liferay, you will know that you can find several instances of Liferay within the same Liferay installation, and if we integrate this with Elasticsearch, we have implemented two options. Find the indexes, one index for all the instances of Liferay, or one index for instance. That this last one is the one that I prefer. Inside an index, we will find shards and replicas. The shard is a small part of an index. Each index will be split in several shards, maybe in 5 shards or 3 shards or 10 shards. It doesn't matter, and each shard is going to be stored in just one node. If we have a cluster with 3 nodes and we have 3 shards, maybe we will find one shard in each node. Or maybe if we have several indexes, we will find all the shards of one index in one node, the shards of other index in another node, and etc. But this shard will have some replicas. Elasticsearch has been developed with one idea in the mind of the developers, that is that all the hardware sooner or later will be fail, and as far as the hardware is going to fail, we will need to be sure that our information is not going to be lost. So for each shard that we will find, we will get at least one replica or more replicas, and one shard and its own replica never are stored in the same node. So if I have the shard 1 in the first node, probably I will never find the replica of this shard in the same node. The replica of this shard will be in another node. Why? Because if the node 1 crashes, I will not lose the information, because I have this information replicate in the node 2. So Elasticsearch is clever enough to rebuild all the information and get our cluster working with all the information that we had before our node crash. And finally, inside this shard, inside this replica, is where we will find a losing index. So for one index of Elasticsearch, we can find lots of losing index. This is one of the first reasons, because Elasticsearch is pretty faster than losing, because it uses several losing indexes, and it search and all the indexes at the same time. So if we have several servers, we can retrieve results from all the servers in faster than if we have a giant index with all the information. So okay, we have win this battle. We have Elasticsearch and Liferay integrated with each other. What can we do now? The next thing for us, the next thing that came to our minds was to improve this integration with some extra functionality that is not provided with Liferay out of the box. One of these functionality is the use of synonyms with Elasticsearch. The use of synonyms is supported out of the box for Elasticsearch, but it doesn't provide a tool to manage these synonyms in an easy way. If you want to edit your dictionary of synonyms, you need to open a file, the file with your synonyms, you need to add your new synonyms, and then you need to restart your Elasticsearch cluster, which is pretty boring. So what we did here is to create a small application which is deployed in the Liferay control panel that will allow the user to manage his synonyms, add a new one or delete synonyms or whatever, and export these synonyms to the Elasticsearch cluster. Then you have two options in order to publish these synonyms to Elasticsearch, and from that moment you will be able to use it in your portal. You will be able to search for the house, and you will find results with home, for example, and you can import or export these synonyms to another Elasticsearch cluster, or get the synonyms from another Elasticsearch or from a solar application or wherever. So it's what we have here is a complete synonyms management application, which will help us to get more accurate results in our searches with Liferay. Another feature that we add here in our development was a very common feature in our days, that is the autocomplete feature. I think that I don't need to explain what is this auto-completion, but if you start to type something in your search box, this Elasticsearch will be able to help you in order to know what are you typing, and in order to suggest you some new ideas, or to complete your typing. This is a very generic implementation of a autocomplete feature, and I think that probably this will be to be customized in a different way for each portal, because as far as I see, there are no two search engines that works in the same way. It's not the same search something about books or about films that search in something about, I don't know, about the daily, about news, or about something like that. So I think that these tools always need to be customized for each portal. A very powerful thing here in these kind of integrations are also related to not read only information on one source of data, but read the information about several sources of data. Here we are talking about how to integrate Elasticsearch with Liferay, but this doesn't mean that we only read information from Liferay. With this kind of tools, we can read information from a lot of places, maybe from some from Liferay, of course, but also from some databases, or from some external services that we have in other applications, or we can read information from our email inbox, or from some I don't know, maybe from our file system and some documents or wherever, and we can store all this information in Elasticsearch. Because as I said at the beginning of this webinar, Elasticsearch obviously is not only developed to work with Liferay. It's a search engine server that can work with anything. And then when we have this information stored in Elasticsearch, we can use Liferay again in order to provide the search box, in order to provide the users a way to, a simple way really, to search this information, to find wherever about this information that we have in Liferay, or about this information that we have in any other sources of our emails or file systems or whatever. So this is also a powerful tool in order to get these things, to use several sources of data, and then provide only one search box to our users to search for this information. In this way, they are not going to need to use this application for searching my email, this application for checking my document library, another application, another new application to search in Liferay. We can use Liferay for everything, and Elasticsearch to index the information of all our data sources. What else? A powerful thing here with Elasticsearch also is the way that it provides for searching in geolocated contents. I mean, these contents are contents or documents that are associated to some coordinates, some longitude and latitude, and Elasticsearch can locate these documents only based on this geo information of the document. So I can easily find I don't know, maybe restaurants or some galleries that are near my house, or that are in a range of 10 to 25 kilometers from where I am now, or the place that I am now, or the place that I'm looking for, or wherever. And we can get this information and put it in a map, because nowadays we love Google Maps, and we love to see all our information rendered in a map. So we can do this using two things. The first one is what Elasticsearch provides for geolocation, and the second one is what Liferay provides for the search portlet. In this case, what Liferay provides to us is the possibility to create new facets for its search portlet. So what we did here is to create a new facet. This is this one that you can see here in the picture, that simply shows this range with distances to somewhere, and we can choose one of these distances, and we will find we will use this as a filter in Elasticsearch to filter the final result that are going to be retrieved by the user. So this will work out of the box with the search portlet or library, because we can deploy this new facet, and it will be under the hood. It will work with the geolocation feature of Elasticsearch. And we can find lots of more things here in with this integration. We have the scoring system of Elasticsearch, which is clever enough to know what are the most important results based on the user, on what the user is searching, and it will put these results at the beginning of the list. The same with highlighted terms that are very common nowadays. If we search for something, it improves the user experience. The thing that we can find easily the term in the text that are being retrieved to us. So if we highlight this term, that it's something that is support for Liferay and with and Elasticsearch for both technologies, it's easy to us to integrate these things. So this is working also in our integration. And the thing that of searching in multiple types of data, that it's very important, because it's not the same if I'm searching about maybe about a specific term. If I have the title of a movie, Dumb and Dumber, I can search for the term dumb, and I want to get exactly what movie has the title that contains the word dumb. But what happens if I search for geolocation? As I said before, a user never knows the exact position of some restaurant. The user is not going to search with the latitude and the longitude of any place. He is going to search in a different way, as I said before, maybe for a range of kilometers or something like that. So this is very, very important here, that Elasticsearch needs to know that what data are you using, what types of data are you use, and search in that data in a different way. Maybe because I don't know, or I don't want to search for the exact position of a restaurant. And maybe a very important thing here is to get the results as fast as possible, because Elasticsearch or Lucene or these kind of tools are not only the unique tools that can get these features, but the good thing here is that these tools do these things and do it very, very fast. Maybe we can, if we only work with a database, we can get similar features. You can think, for example, about how can you implement a synonyms feature just with database queries. So it will be very, I don't know if the correct word is ugly, but maybe it will be very ugly, because we will need to know what is the user searching for, and then we will need to locate some synonyms of these words, and then we will need to build a complex word query with all these synonyms and all these things, and probably you will get the same results. But if you use a tool that it has been developed with these things in mind, everything is going to be easier than if you need to do it manually. So probably I'm forgetting about more features that Elasticsearch and Liferay provides with both of them with this integration, but I'm sure that in the first moment that you test this integration, you will find some good news about how it's working. And what happens if we have everything? If we have these proper tools and we have set up these tools in the proper way, okay, I think that we have achieved our goal. We have the perfect tool for what we are doing. I think that this dog is better than the first one. Please look at his eyes. There are different eyes this dog is going to bring, and we will have happy users, because they are not waiting for a lot of time for getting the results in the portal. Now I will go to give some steps on how we have done these things. I'm not going to, obviously I'm not going to show you all the code, because it will be pretty boring, but I will show you the main things in this integration, and after this I will show you a small demo about some of the things that we told before. So the first thing here is to know what is this Liferay Search API and how we work with this. What Liferay provides out of the box, this API, is what is in the lighter zone place of this of this slide, that is these interfaces and this abstract implementation. And then we have implemented this for Elasticsearch, which is in the darker, in the orange box. That is what we need to implement. I have it in here, so I will just show you some little things about how all of this has been implemented. A very important thing here is the configuration of all of this, because if we don't set up in the proper way these things, we are not going to get a I don't know, you know, we are not going to get a good search engine. We are going to find a very slow, or a search engine that is not retrieving the results that we want, and that is a pretty worse user experience that we want to get. So here is one of the most important files in our integration, that is the file which represents what the information that Liferay will provide to Elasticsearch. Here we have the, if you used to work with Liferay, you will know some of these things, because are the attributes that Liferay use in order to maybe to describe a content, or a blog post, or a user, or whatever. Everything are defined in here with some of these terms. And what we are doing here is to say to Elasticsearch how to deal with each of these attributes. Which of them should be analyzed. Analyze means that Elasticsearch need to study what is inside this attribute, and maybe apply some analyzers for different languages, maybe, or for using synonyms, or for using for enable autocomplete for this for this field, or wherever. And some of them are not analyzed. That is that Elasticsearch only need to store this information, but it doesn't need to deal with the content of this information, because Elasticsearch will only store it, and this information will wait for any user that want to search for this field. But the fields that are not analyzed are not going to be split in different words, are not going to be applied this synonyms technology. They are not going to be enabled for autocomplete and all these things. And then we will also find these dynamic templates that these are created for all these fields that cannot be known at the first moment, because they are created on the fly for Liferay. For example, if we create a new expando field, you know what is in Liferay and expando is this information, this custom fields that you can add for your entities, or for the contents, or the assets, or whatever. So if you add a new expando, Elasticsearch doesn't know enough in the first moment the name of this expando, because the user can create it in any moment. So we can use this kind of expression in order to apply this configuration for all the new fields that match with this expression. Here we have a new expression for all the fields which fit with content / wherever, and here we have maybe the most interesting one, that are those which are related with the language of the content. So if we detect any field that contains this en tag, we will know that this information is writing in English, so we will apply the English analyzer. And if we have this DE prefix or suffix, we know that this information is in German, and we will apply these German analyzers. So this will guide us to the next file, that is the file in which these analyzers are defined. Now in this implementation we have several configurations for these files because as I said before, I have never found two projects which needs the same search engine. Each project is pretty different due to the different information that it manages. So here is one of our complicated configuration for analyzers. We are using here some analyzers. These Ngram analyzers is very useful for this autocomplete feature that I showed you before. And we have also the German and English analyzers for the different languages. And then here these filters are, some of them are provided out of the box for Elasticsearch. Another one that has been set up for us, but is how this define how these analyzers works. These are very specific things of Elasticsearch. So I will not stop now on these things, but you will be find documentations about these things easy. The next thing that we are going to see, I have a question here from one of you asking for if I can explain how to integrate Elasticsearch and Liferay. So this thing that I show you now is the way in which we have integrate this. Actually the final artifact is a WAR, is a web plugin, this Elasticsearch web, and in this is the web plugin that do the magic. Is the plugin that you will need to deploy in Liferay, and it automatically will replace the Liferay search engine based on Lucene for the Elasticsearch search engine. In order to know how all of these works, sorry, just a minute. Okay, we have here the final implementation of these things. For example, here is the interface that we need to implement in order to get a new Elasticsearch client. At this moment, we only have one implementation for this thing, that this is Elasticsearch connection imper that create a new Elasticsearch client based on a common Elasticsearch YAML configuration file, which is this one. So you can if you used to work with Elasticsearch, you know how to set up a Elasticsearch cluster. You will find here in our integration all the powerful that this Elasticsearch provides out of the box, because we are using the most generic way in order to define this our nodes. We will read all the configuration that you put in this file, and we will create a new node of Elasticsearch based on this information. We only modify your configuration in one thing, that is that we define always our node that we use to connect to Elasticsearch as a client node. Which this means that this client is not going to be able to store information. In Elasticsearch we have three, to be exactly, we have three types of nodes that can interact with our server. The first one is the typical, the most common one, that it's a complete node that can store information, can search for information, can be promoted to a master and everything. And then we have two different type of node. One of them is this one that is a client node, that it's a node that cannot store anything, but it can search to the cluster for information and retrieve it to the user. And finally, we have another type of node that it's those nodes that are only master nodes. They cannot store information, they cannot do anything but being a master. That it's, if you have a cluster with maybe 100 nodes of Elasticsearch, it's very, very interesting to have specific nodes to be promoted as masters. But we have here now only this implementation in order to work with Elasticsearch YAML configuration file. But we have in our work roadmap a new implementation for this. That is in order to create a node with which is embedded in Elasticsearch. So in this way, we will not need a cluster of Elasticsearch to connect to, because Liferay will be able to create his own cluster and work with Elasticsearch just running Liferay. And finally, the other things that we have here is the implementation of the Elasticsearch index writer or the methods that are related to how Elasticsearch how Liferay will write documents in Elasticsearch, and the Elasticsearch index searcher, that it's the opposite. All the methods that are related to how Elasticsearch, how Liferay will get information from Elasticsearch. Here there is interesting thing, because we have both two different implementation. In these methods, Elasticsearch will provide to Liferay will provide with this query, and this query in Elasticsearch can have two different implementations. The first one is a Lucene query. So if you are using a tool like Elasticsearch, which is based on Lucene, you can configure it here, and you can set here that my new search engine is based on Lucene, and that query that we saw in that method will be a Lucene query. In that case, Elasticsearch can take this query, work with this query, and you will need to do nothing in order to work. And we have another implementation of the query, which is used if you define here that our search engine is not based on Lucene. As you can see here, we are using Elasticsearch, which is based in Lucene, but we have set up here that it's not based on Lucene. We did this because if we use native Lucene queries, we found some problems with some analyzers that didn't work properly. Most of them works properly, not only for native Elasticsearch queries, but also for Lucene queries, but some of them works only with Elasticsearch queries. So we have defined here this property to false, and in our Elasticsearch index searcher we deal with this query, and we build our native query to Elasticsearch instead of using a Lucene one. So I think that these things are the most important ones that we need to know in order to know how to implement this integration. Finally, now that this integration is finished, the only thing that you will need, as I said before, is the final artifact. Is a word that you can deploy in your Elasticsearch, and thanks to this being here, this plugin web will replace the system engine with our own engine based on Elasticsearch. So you will need to do nothing in order to put it to run with this integration. So the next things I will show you just a little demo, a 3 minutes demo about this integration. It's just a 3 minutes demo because because the only thing that you are going to see is the Liferay search portlet, that we have I think that we have it here. Okay, in this page is the live research portlet. So this is the reason, because I start with the theory and now I show the demo, because if I start here, maybe most of you will be disconnected of this webinar because you will think, what is this guy talking about? This is the live research search portlet. Okay, you are right, this is the live research portlet, but if you search for something here, something like Mimacom, you will see that this okay, now it's asking for permission to use my geoposition here. So this live research portlet is now using the Elasticsearch under the hood. You need to believe me because I cannot. It's difficult to prove, but you can see here our improvements in the search engine. This is a Liferay 6.2, and if you search for something, for example Mimacom, you will find all the results in a Google Maps, and here you have all the information, and you can use this face in order to get more accurate results. For example, what offices are in a range of 10 kilometers. Only my office here is where I am here now. Maybe it's not very accurate, this geoposition, but this is the place where I'm now. Or you can get the offices of Mimacom in a range of between 100 and 1,000 kilometers, and we have here all the offices in Spain, Gijón, Barcelona, and Valencia. And also you have the results here. And another thing that you have here, you can find here also thanks to Elasticsearch, are recommended places. You have here some recommended places within the same range. So if I choose again the 10 kilometers range, I will see that the recommended places are now different. Only two. This is a museum near my house, and this is the Mimacom office in Gijón. We can search for another thing, for example museum, and we have here some results related to museum, and you can see here that some of them don't have the term museum. This is because we are using these synonyms. Obviously in a production environment we will not render this information here, but now you can see here the synonyms that are being in use with the term museum. Sorry, because it's in Spanish. I don't know if I have synonyms for English language. I don't think so. No, sorry. But you believe me if I told you that this can be synonym for the word museum. Okay, this is my demo about how all of this works. This is the index that we are querying now. We have now maybe 320,000 documents, more or less. It's not a very big amount of documents because Elasticsearch works with millions and millions of documents, and this is how this information is split now in my server. We have now here the search that I told you before. We have only one index for Liferay, and then we have 5 searches and 5 replicas, one replica of each search. At this moment, as far as I only have one node, that it is this Canberra, the replicas are unassigned because it has no sense that the replica is stored in the same server that the original search, because it will be a waste of free space in my hard disk, because if my only node stops working, I will lose all the information anyway. So it's not necessary to replicate the information within the same server. If I were able to to get a new node here in this server, you will see how all the information are automatically distributed in the other node. I'm launching now a new node, and if we refresh here, we should see how this information is redistributed. You can see here that now I have two nodes, Candra and Saint Hector. These names are always from Marvel characters, and the information is distributed among all the available nodes. If I start a new node now, we will see how this information will be shared again with in this case with Frank Castle, the new node. And I want to show you with this thing how Elasticsearch works with this information, how it moves the nodes and the replicas among all the available nodes. And you can see here that we will never find within the same node the replica and the shard of one of the same index. If we find here the replica one, is because the shard one is in another node. So if, for example, we lost Saint Hector, we are losing it now, everything is going to be redistributed again, but we never lost information. The only way that we have to lose information is if we lost all the nodes on the cluster, which I think that it's a very, very serious problem that we will need to analyze. So the other thing that I could show you in a demo is this synonyms management tool, but I think that it's very boring to see it working because it's just a basic tool to create, delete, and add new synonyms. So believe me, if I told you that this tool works and you can use the new synonyms each time you add a new one. And finally, we have a roadmap in our minds. Maybe this roadmap is the cause because we never publish this our plugin in the marketplace, because we are always waiting for something more, but for us this is never finished. For example, we want to have more language analyzers in our implementation. You see before that we are only have configured for German and English, but there are lots of languages that we need to add. The same for some tool in order to monitor Elasticsearch from Liferay control panel. I was working some minutes ago with this tool, with Elasticsearch Head, this one that you are seeing here. This is a very good tool, and it will be a very good idea if we integrate this tool in the Liferay control panel, because if we don't, we will need to use two different tools. One is Liferay with his CMS and all the tools that Liferay provides, and then another extra tool in order to deal with Elasticsearch. The other thing is what I told you before: provide an embedded Elasticsearch client within Liferay. In this way, we won't need to have a Elasticsearch cluster and then Liferay. We can have both things in one bundle, and starting our Liferay, we will start our Elasticsearch. I don't think that this is the best solution for a production environment, because I think that it's a better idea if we have a specific server for our index search engine, but it's very useful for non-production environments, from the development and all these things. And the last thing that we have in our mind now is to improve the geolocation feature that you saw before, but with support for more assets in Liferay, because now it's only working with contents. There is another thing here, that is that all of this code that you were seeing before is not has not been developed by us, by Mimacom. Some of this code has been developed for Liferay, because Liferay is developing this integration for Liferay 7. So some of these features are provided out of the box for Liferay 7. For example, this geolocation feature for more assets are provided for Liferay 7. So we can port this code to Liferay 6, and we can leverage this implementation. I think that this is a very important point, because in the first moment we try to reinvent the wheel and create a complete new integration with Liferay and Elasticsearch, but then we noticed that it was a better way if we use the things that Liferay did before for us, and now we know that migrate all of these things to Liferay 7 will be very easy. So that's all. I don't know if you have any question about this integration, about these tools, about wherever. But if I can help you in any way, please let me know now, or contact with me in my personal email, or using Twitter, or wherever. I have here just one question at this moment, but it's the question related to how to integrate these things, and I think that it has been replied. But please, if you need more information about this, do not hesitate to contact. I have here now another question about comparison between Solar and Elasticsearch. Yes, we worked on this thing, and I have to. I love Elasticsearch, so I'm not. I don't know if I'm the correct person to answer this question, but I noticed two big difference between both of them. The first one is that Elasticsearch has been built in mind with the idea of a cluster. So we are working in a distributed environment with high availability and all these things. With Elasticsearch, it's very easy to set up all these things. We can do it everything without restart anything. And as I worked some years ago with Solar, and these kind of jobs were more difficult than with Elasticsearch, to start a cluster, to make changes in the cluster, and waiting for everything. I think that this is a very good advantage of Elasticsearch. The same with the API, the REST API that Elasticsearch provide out of the box. It's very powerful. You will need to check it in order to know it, but it's very powerful. So I think that at this moment Solar doesn't have an API like this. I can do anything just with this REST API and a browser, and I think that it's very easy to integrate anything with this API. And the last advantage that I found in Elasticsearch is a pretty faster than Solar. I don't like to talk about this topic, because maybe I think that it's faster, but another people think that Solar is faster than Elasticsearch. It's a very complicated topic, because it will depend on the test that you do. I did a test with 1 million of blog entries in Liferay, and with our Elasticsearch plugin and Solar plugin, and in this case Elasticsearch was faster than Solar. Yeah, we are always talking about milliseconds, not about seconds or something like that, but Elasticsearch was faster. If you search in Google about this comparison, you will find lots of them, and most of them say that Elasticsearch are faster, but a lot of them say that Solar are faster. So I recommend you to read the articles careful and I don't know, and get your own ideas, because I read some articles in which the solar configuration was pretty bad. So in that cases, it's easy to get better results with Elasticsearch and in the other side also. I have a question here from Antonio Perez. If we are going to publish this webinar, yeah, we are recording this webinar and we will publish the whole webinar. You will receive the link via email, and you will get also a link to the slides I'm using here. Another question, is the current API capable of injecting elastic specific parameters to the request and getting the results back? I don't know if I'm understand the question in the correct way, but I think that the reply is no, at least no, as you can do it with the Elasticsearch API. Here what we do is based on which the user are typing in the search box, we build a query, but this query is always the same. We only make some difference if we detect some type of data or things of that, but we cannot boost some specific fields and things like that. But if we have all the information stored in Elasticsearch, what you can do is use the Elasticsearch API in order to get this information, or maybe we can also I don't know, develop a hook over the Liferay search portal in order to get these parameters. I think that I didn't think about that before, but I think that it's a good idea to provide a mechanism here in the Liferay portal to send some parameters to Elasticsearch. But we need to think about it, because this will be maybe an administrator task to define these parameters to send it to Elasticsearch. Okay, I have here another question. If Elasticsearch needs whole words. Not. If we use some analyzer, we don't need to search for the whole word. For the example of Dumb and Dumber, the title of the movie that I told you before, is a good example for this. We can search for dumb, and we will find also the word dumber. This is because I read the rest of the question here, and you are using the same example. For example, it recognizes dumb and fits both dumb and dumber. What is dumb? Okay. I think that you know that if you search for dumb, you will find dumber because they has the same path. But then you are asking what happens if you write dumb? What happens if dumb is entered? I can show you here the configuration of one of our analyzers, that is the Ngram analyzer, this one, and the filter. This is what we are using in order to autocomplete the typing of the user. In this thing, we have only one field, the title field, that we are applying this filter. This filter, what it does is split your word in this case in letters from 2 and 20 characters. I mean, if you write dumb, it will split into, if you are storing the word dumber, it will split in do, doom, dumba, dumba, dumber. So the response to your question is yes, you can do it with with Elasticsearch, but as you point here, this will affect in some way not only to the performance of your application, but also to the performance of when you are indexed your information, and maybe with the results of your information, but because you will have you will find too many words. But you can do it, but I will only recommend these things for specific fields and for autocomplete features, because I think that search for DUM, if you are DUM, D-U-M, if you are searching for number, is very confused for the user, for everything, I think. But you can do it if you want. This is the magic of Elasticsearch. You can do wherever, but maybe you will pay some performance consequences. But if you have a 100 nodes cluster, this will not be a problem. Okay. A lot of you thanks me for your replies, so all of you are welcome with with this. So I think that I don't have any more question here. So I will wait a couple of seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds. There are no more questions. So thank you very much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this webinar, and please do not hesitate to contact me if you need something. You have here my contact information again, so please do not hesitate to contact me, or if we can help you with this thing. We will try to publish our plugin as soon as possible, because I think that it's a very good idea to use Elasticsearch and Liferay. If we have a big project, or we have projects in which the search engine is very important, I think that Elasticsearch is a good solution. So we will try to do it sooner. So thank you very much to all of you, and bye bye. Have a nice evening all of you. Thank you.